Okay, so we are starting another installment of Kedushas Levi on the parsha Shlach, and it's actually very exciting that I was saying before that next week we have to find a new sefer, because this is going to be, we're making a complete siyum on Kedushas Levi. We started this series Parshas Korach. It wasn't all on YouTube, but we have the recordings from Parshas Korach, and so for next week I'll have to think about what's the new book. I was thinking maybe Baal Shem Tov. Maybe we should do Shem Tov. Maybe we should do Baal Shem Tov. I don't know. We have different days. Maybe we'll start something else entirely. Maybe stop doing Chassidus. I don't know. But this is a very exciting week that we're making a siyum on Kedushas Levi. So part of this parsha, an important part of this parsha, is the story of the Meraglim, story of the spies, and the story of this this desire to stay in the desert, this desire that the spies, that they had something against. They had something against going into the land of Israel, that they wanted to say Lashon Hara about Israel, that it wasn't worth it. And so so there's a bunch of interesting things. Really, the idea that the Berditchever wants to share over here is that there's two ways to be into Judaism. There's two ways to be close to Hashem. That one way of being close to Hashem is what's called a inspiration from above, itaruta de la'ela, and that Hashem inspires a person. Hashem just like gives you these like excitement, this inspiration that you don't know why, but just Hashem is you just wake up and you want to do something holy. Okay, so when it's like that, so then it's really from Him. It's really not from us. And then there's a different way of being inspired, and that is that it's coming from you. It's coming that I need this. They're coming from like being an underdog, from being detached, from feeling darkness, from feeling distance, and saying that like I need to be close, and it's coming from me. That I am present. That's the other way of coming close to Hashem. And so the question is that which is actually better? Which is actually better? Is it better a person that feels that I'm just being carried through my life, that Hashem is carrying me to Him, Hashem is carrying me into His service, or is it actually better when you're doing it yourself, when you're doing it the hard way, you're doing it through the darkness? Okay, so it goes like this, that at the beginning of the parsha, so the Torah says, Shlach lacha anashim. Hashem says to Moshe, Shlach lacha, send for you. So what does it mean for you? So Rashi says, what does it mean lacha? That lidatcha, that as you please. Ani eini mitzaveh, I don't command you. Im tirtza shlach, if you want, then send. If you don't want, then don't send. So the question is that what does it mean? I'm not commanding you. That it says later in the parsha, "Vayishlach otam Moshe al pi Hashem," that Moshe sent them based on what Hashem said, based on Hashem's command. So it sounds like Hashem is commanding. So which is it? Is it Hashem's commanding, or is it that if it said clearly in the pasuk that Moshe sent according to Hashem's command, so then how is it that how does Hashem tell them that it's only if you want? Okay. So the idea is like this: that it says in the Gemara, that there's three things. There's three things that Moshe did of his own volition. That Hashem didn't command him, and Moshe did it because he thought it needed to be so. Hashem hodala. Hashem agreed that was a good idea. Okay, one was actually we just had by Shavuos, that Moshe Rabbeinu pushed off the day that we got the Torah. Hashem actually wanted to give it the Torah on Vav Sivan, and Moshe pushed it off an extra day until Zayin Sivan. Okay, so another thing is, very famous thing, he broke the luchot. He broke the tablets. Okay, Hashem did not tell him to break the tablets. Hashem spent a lot of effort, so to speak, in creating the tablets, and Moshe took this this fine masterpiece of God, and he shattered it into smithereens. And Hashem was modelo. Hashem agreed to him. Hashem said that, that was a good idea. It was a good idea that you smashed the tablets. And Chazal learned that it says Asher Shibarta, that Chazal say that that was Hashem's way of saying that Yasher Koach Shibarta. It was a good idea. It was a good idea that you broke the tablets. There are different explanations why it was a good idea. That if he wouldn't have broken the tablets, then we would have been considered more liable and it would have been more dangerous for the Jewish people. Whatever it is, but Moshe Rabbeinu took the initiative, a huge initiative, to think about the audacity that Hashem gives you. This Hashem says, "I want you to give these tablets to my dear Jewish people," and without Hashem telling him, he breaks them. How dare he? And yet Hashem is happy with it. Okay, so there's things that says that Moshe Rabbeinu did from his own intuition, that he understood that this needs to be the way it is. So another Gemara that he brings, that he wants to explain over here, is that there's an interesting Gemara in Pesachim. The Gemara says in Pesachim that there was a Kohen Gadol, Yisachar Ish Kfar Bar Kai. Okay, so this dude, Yisachar Ish Kfar Bar Kai. So it says that there was a bas kol, there was a heavenly voice. There was a heavenly voice that shrieked out from the temple, Oili, woe is to me from Yisachar Ish Bar Kai, that he desecrates my temple. Okay, what was the story with Yisachar Ish Bar Kai? So he didn't want to get his hands dirty. He didn't want to get dirty with the carbonate. So he wore gloves when he would do the service in the temple. So he would always wear gloves, and that's not okay. That's not okay because it's called a chatzitza. It's called a separation between his hands and the knife and the whatever vessel he's using. So that was considered desecrating the karbanos because of his own personal hygiene, because of his own personal preferences. So he was going against what the Torah really wants. And so this bas kol, this heavenly voice, was saying, "Woe is to me that Yisachar Ish Bar Kai is desecrating me." So the Gemara says, what happened to him in the end? What happened to the end? It can't be that people mess up and everything's going to be okay with them. Right? The story with the Chafetz Chaim, that there was this the story in Radin that a certain innkeeper, that a certain landowner, and he had this old lady, this old widow that was renting an apartment from him, and she couldn't pay the rent, and in a very cruel way, he kicked her out of the house, and she was just out in the street with all her stuff in a very humiliating way, and so the Chafetz Chaim was waiting for years and years and years, like, what's going to be with this guy? Like, I know that Hashem has to punish this guy. It can't be that he's able to be so cruel to a widow, and Hashem is not going to punish him. So 40 years later, this guy, so he has a son of his that gets some kind of like rabid dog, bites him, and he dies, and nobody's willing to, because he's diseased, so nobody's willing to bury his son. And so he had to bury his own son. He had to go to the grave, dig the grave himself. He had to take care of the funeral himself. And so then at the during this time, so the Chafetz Chaim heard about this, and he was telling all of his students that I was waiting for this day. I'm waiting. Hashem has a very long memory. I knew that he couldn't. He's not going to die in peace. It's not going to. So the Gemara says, what's going to be? What's going to be with Yisachar? With Yisachar, Ish Kfar Bar Kai, the Kohen Gadol. So the Gemara says that there was the king at the time during the Second Temple. So there were from the Chashmonaim. There was from as a result of the story of Hanukkah. So we had the Beis Chashmonai was ruling in Israel for 210 years, and so the king and the queen had an argument. Okay, and at first glance it doesn't seem like a very lofty argument. It says that they were arguing which meat is better. Which meat is better? Is goat meat better or is sheep meat better? Okay. Any votes here?
Sheep.
We say like you. So they said. So they're arguing, and they say, well, who should decide? The Kohen Gadol should decide because he's dealing with animals all day, so he's probably the expert on meat. So they bring in the Kohen Gadol. Yitzchak, and they say, Kohen Gadol, what's better? What's better, the goats or the sheep? And so the king said the goat meat is better, and the queen said the sheep meat is better. Okay, so they brought the Kohen Gadol, and the bracha, and says the achvi biyadi. He made some kind of belittling hand gesture. That's a no-brainer. Of course it's the sheep. Because if goats would be better, then Hashem would say to bring a carbon tamid from goats. From the fact that Hashem says to bring the carbon tamid, the offering every day, twice in the Beis Hamikdash, twice a day. So every day there's a carbon tamid. If Hashem thought that goats was better, so he would say to bring from goats. So the king was so upset. That he disagreed with him. That he said, "What? It's not enough that you. It's not enough that you disagreed with me. You had to make like this belittling hand motion. I'm going to cut off your right hand. So he got brought to the executioner, and he was supposed to cut off his right hand, and he bribed him to cut off his left hand instead of his right hand. And so the thing is that the king found out. The king found out that he bribed him. So when the king found out that he bribed him to cut off his left hand and instead of his right hand, he got so upset that he said, "Now cut off his right hand too." So he was left with no hands. So that's the story. That's the story of Yisachar Yishkar Barkai, Kohen Gadol. So Levi Yitzchak wants to give a deeper understanding of what this Gemara really means. Okay, so now it gets back to what this parsha is really about, and that is that sometimes there's times that Hashem inspires us. There's times that Hashem sends down into the world this energy of inspiration. For example, it says that Moadim l'simcha, Chagim uzmanim l'sason. There's Yantif and Yantif, so a person is inspired. A person, it's in the day. It's in the day. Like there's elevated days. Shabbos is an elevated day. We get an extra soul on Shabbos. That it's not from anything we do. It's just we're celebrating that this is an elevated day. What does it mean? This elevated day? It means that Hashem sends down these spiritual inspirations. That it's easier. Like even people that don't feel God every single day, but on Yantiv and Shabbos, it's easier to feel God. Okay, so that's what it means that there's this inspiration from above. Okay, so now what exactly are you supposed to do? What exactly are you supposed to do when Hashem? Oh, actually, before that. So now, sometimes you don't get this inspiration, right? So what do you do then? So when you don't have this inspiration, then you have to find the inspiration from within, and that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was very into. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu was very obsessed that we need to take care of the fact that sometimes there isn't inspiration, and that's why Moshe Rabbeinu had these shlosha dvarim. He had these three things that he did mid'ato, that he did from his own volition, from his own inspiration. That not that Hashem told him, because he was rectifying with these three things. He was rectifying the fact that sometimes we need to do things because we realize it's the right thing to do, even if it's not coming from above. Okay? So now, when we have this inspiration from above, so he says that this can be expressed in the Mishnah, in the words of the Mishnah, that it says that every day that there is a bas kol, every day that there is a heavenly voice that cries out from Har Sinai. It cries out to the world, and it says Shuva banim shavavim, that everybody do tshuva, come back, improve yourselves, come close to Hashem. There's this voice that cries out that if you're privy to hear it, then it's there. It's like there's this voice every day calling out that just be a little bit better. Okay, so what are you supposed to do? So if you're in the right place in the right time, if you're in the right state of mind, then you're able to hear this voice. Okay, a lot of people just go on doing their thing. And a lot of the problem, the reason why people don't hear the voice is because they're too busy. Because there's too much static. They're on their phone too much. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of just background music in their lives that they just can't be tuned into the fact that I'm being called. I'm being called, but I don't hear the calling because there's just too much noise. So if you're able to hear if you're able to hear this voice, to hear this calling, so what are you supposed to do? So what are you actually supposed to do? So he says, you know what you're actually supposed to do? You're actually just supposed to stand there. You're supposed to just don't let it go. Don't allow these moments to pass, and just stand there and don't focus on your body. Just focus on your soul, and just allow the voice to seep deep in. Just yes, I want to be better. Yes, I want to be closer. And that is the avoda of the tzaddikim. When they hear this voice, when they're in this isarusa t'la'ela, when they hear this arousal from above, so the avoda is really to just be passive and let it permeate your soul. So now he says like this. It's there's so beautiful, like it's so appropriate that in our last class of Kedushas Levi that he's talking about this, that it says in Chazal, it says in the Mishnah at the end of Sanhedrin, it says, it's a famous Mishnah, it's Kol Yisrael yesh lev chelek le'olam haba. Every Jewish person has a share in the world to come. That's the famous part. But there's also a less famous part. At the end of the Mishnah, it says Ve'elu she'en lehem chelek le'olam haba. And these are the people that don't have a share in the world to come. So the truth is that it's very small. There's very few people that don't have a share in the world to come. But it actually says over there, that that Dar Hamidbar, that the generation of the desert, the generation that was with Moshe during the 40 years in the desert, it says Elohem Chelek L'Olam Haba. Okay, so they do not have a portion in the world to come. Which at first glance, it's like it appears that the reason why they don't have a share in the world to come is because they were always messing up. Like we had in yesterday's parsha, we had that they were complaining about meat, and then they were what? Spies. And then this week we have the spies, and there was Karach, and there's lots of mistake after mistake after mistake. So at first glance, that's what it seems. But he says there can't be. He says they can't. How can they were so holy? They were constantly privy to Hashem's presence. It doesn't make any sense that they just don't have a share in the world to come. So he gives it like a twist, a very Chassidic twist, that it means quite the opposite. That's not what it means at all. It doesn't mean that they don't have a share in the world to come. So what is it supposed to mean? So it says that when you're hearing this voice from above, when you're hearing this calling from above, so what's your avoda? Your avoda is especially sagashmias. You're supposed to just not be present in your physical existence. Okay, so what does that really mean? That to be connected to the beyond, to be connected to the world of ayin. Ayin means from where, but it really means that from nothingness. Okay, that when a person is connecting to Hashem, when he's hearing this voice, so he's supposed to just detach from his physical existence and connect to the world of Ayin. The world connect to the world of the beyond, of the infinite. Okay? So Dor HaMidbar, Ayin Lahem. Ayin Lahem. That they were constantly in this reality of Ayin. Because they were constantly in the reality that Hashem is revealing himself to them. Because they were constant miracles, and they were living off the manna, and they were constantly seeing the clouds of glory, and nothing was natural. They were just learning Torah. They didn't have to work for a living. They didn't have to. They didn't have to do laundry. They didn't have to use the bathroom. It was a supernatural existence. Everything was just purely from God. So that they were constantly in this reality of a Sirus Del Eila. They were constantly in this reality of being inspired from above, and that's Ayin Lahem. Dor HaMidbar Ayin Lahem. Dor HaMidbar, their entire existence was an existence of Ayin. It was an existence of beyond. So that Hayu Tamid Makshivim L'Kol Ha'ayon Zeh Havi Otam Shehaya Lahem Chelek L'Ahava. That because they were constantly in this mentality of Ayin, that is why they had to share in the world to come. So it doesn't mean Ein Lahem. That doesn't. You shouldn't read it. Shouldn't read it. Dor HaMidbar Ein Lahem, that they don't have a share in the world to come. You should read it. Dor HaMidbar Ayin Lahem. The Dor HaMidbar, they are in a reality of Ayin, and that's why Chelek L'Olam, and that's why that is their share in the world to come, because that's active. You have to do something. You have to actually be proactive in your bitul, in your connection to the world of Ayin. Okay. So he says that this is actually hinted to. The Gemara says that where do we see that the people of the Midbar, the people in the desert, the generation of the desert, that they don't have a share in the world to come? So it says, Bamidbar hazeh yitamu v'sham yamusu. Okay, that in this desert, yitamu, they will be finished. V'sham yamusu, and there they will die. So it sounds like they're finished. They're finished. This is it. You're living here 40 years, and that's it. There's no more afterlife here. Okay? So he explains. So what does it mean? That when it says yitamu, so that's a reference to the fact that they are bitmimut, that they are with perfection. And what's it mean, v'sham yamusu? So v'sham yamusu, he brings a very beautiful Gemara. It says that by Moshe Rabbeinu, so it says vayamat sham Moshe, and when Moshe Rabbeinu died on Mount Nevo, so it says vayamat sham Moshe. So how did Moshe die? So everybody knows that the way Moshe died is called mitat nishika, the death of a kiss. Kiss of death is Harry Potter. This is the death of a kiss. Okay, death of a kiss is that you're dying by God giving. I forgot what they're called. But when God gives you a kiss as you die, that's the holiest way to leave the world. Okay, so that's how Moshe Rabbeinu died. So it says that how do we know that Miriam also died with mitat nishika? So it says because he uses the word sham by Miriam as well. So the Gemara uses the word sham as a code word for mitat nishika. So when it says over here, Bamidbar hazeh yitamu v'sham yamusu, so what's it mean, v'sham yamusu? It means that they will die a mita of sham. They will die a death of sham, which is a reference to death by a kiss. Okay, which is the highest way to leave the world. Okay, it's leaving the world through devotion, leaving the world through closeness to God. Okay, meaning that leaving the world can be a very intimate act with God. Like it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be. It can be very. It's just a natural progression that Hashem is coming with you to take you, to hold your hand, give you a kiss, and just I want you to be I want you to be closer. I want you to be closer than you were before. When there's world, there's a necessary detachment, and Hashem is saying, I want you closer, and that's why I'm bringing you to my inner chambers. So V'sham Yamusu. So it doesn't mean they're going to die in the desert, and that's it. They're never going to come back to life. No. V'sham Yamusu means that they were dying the highest level. They were dying misas neshika. They were dying death by a kiss of Hashem. Okay, so this is Rebbe Yitzchak's beautiful, like 180-degree turn that everybody else thinks that when it says that Der Midbar Elam Chelek L'Olam Haba means that they don't have Hashem in the world to come and say, no. Ayin Lahem. And they're in this world of the beyond, they're in the world of the infinite, and that's their Chelek in the world to come. That's when it was the Sham Yamusa that he died Misas Neshika. Okay? Now, there's no doubt that when Levi Yitzchak said this, so Hashem brought all of the neshamas from the Torah Midbar, and he brought them into the world to come, and then they were all, and they all said, "Oh, Levi Yitzchak, thank you so much, you saved us." So this is how he understands. This is how he understands the Torah Midbar. So we have these two ways of life. There's the way of life of the Dor HaMidbar. The Dor HaMidbar is the Isarusa de La'ela, is that everything, Hashem is running the world, Hashem is bringing down the inspiration, and it's not about you, it's about Hashem is bringing you close. You just need to not to be deaf. Just you need to make sure not to be on your phone too much. You have to just to be quiet, go out into nature, go out to meditate, and to be able to hear that Hashem is really telling me, but that's sometimes, and sometimes you have to do it yourself. So Moshe Rabbeinu, so we saw before that he was into intuition. He was into that. Don't rely on God. Don't rely on God. Don't rely on anybody. It's all up to you. It's all up to you. That if you want your life to be successful, then you have to do something about it. Right. This is as opposed to there's Rat Hashem. If Hashem wants in the right time. No, if you want your life to be successful, you have to do something about it, and that's Moshe Rabbeinu. So he did things even without Hashem telling him to do it. Right? Moshe was that's what it means when Hashem says Shlach lecha l'daitcha. So it goes like this. Hashem says that right now you're going to conquer the land of Israel. Yes. So from the perspective of Hashem, so you don't need to send spies. Hashem can do anything. Hashem can just kill them all in a second. So the whole concept of spies, the whole concept of feeling out, are they strong, are they not strong, that's all. That doesn't make any sense in the world of the desert. In the world of the Hashem is running the world, so there's no room for spies. So what does it mean? Shlach lecha l'datcha. Shlach lecha. Hashem is saying if you want. It doesn't mean if you want. L'da'atcha is according to your dat, according to your understanding. That your understanding is that we need to do things ourselves. We need to make sure it's not going to happen by itself. If you're not going to do it, it's not going to happen, Maris. So that was Moshe Rabbeinu's das. So when it says Shlach lecha l'datcha, he meant that according to my way of thinking, so then you don't need spies in the first place. But I understand that you are a person that wants to be proactive in their life. Moshe, you want that there to be a very strong presence of Jews doing things because Jews want to do things, because we understand that this is what Hashem wants from us. Not because Hashem is inspiring us right now, because I know that this is the right thing. And so, l'datcha, in your das, so I'm putting in this parsha of Meraglim. I'm putting in this parsha of spies because this fits in with your mentality. Okay? So that's what it means. That's what it means. So that's why it says Vayishlach Otam Moshe. Hashem commanded him. Hashem 1,000% commanded him. It wasn't that Hashem said if you want. Hashem commanded him based on the understanding that this is what should come out in Moshe Rabbeinu's mentality, because Moshe Rabbeinu's mentality was a mentality of that it needs to come from us. That don't wait to be inspired, but take the prerogative, take the initiative, and make sure that you inspire yourself. Okay, so that's what Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what Hashem was saying that Shlach lecha l'datcha. Now getting back to this this enigmatic Gemara about what tastes better if goats or sheep. Okay, so he says that gidi in Lashon Kodesh, has a connotation of mazal. Gidi means mazal. Okay, Rashi says by the tribe of Gad. By the tribe of Gad. Gad was the son of Bilhah, one of the 12 tribes, and so Rachel says ba Gad. Rashi says ba mazal. Okay, that Gedi is Capricorn, and like there's a in the constellations there's an idea that Capricorn is Gedi is the constellation of Mazal. It's the lucky constellation. That the Mazal. So Mazal is connected is the literal translation of God is that. So Gedi is reminiscent of God. So Mazal. What's Mazal mean? Mazal. When we say Mazel Tov, when we say that when something good happens, we say Mazel Tov. What does that mean?
It should be a good omen.
Omen?
Should be a good sign for the good.
Nope.
Also, like the energy that's flowing into the world.
Excellent.
We want it to be
good flow. Okay? Mazel, the literal translation of the word mazel, it comes from the word nozel.
Spray.
Leak. Right? Leak. If something's leaking in your, so you call the plumber and you say, Yeshli nizila. I have a nizila. Nizila, something is pouring down. Okay, so that the word mazal comes from the word nozel, which means to leak down. And what's leaking down? That shefa bounty is leaking down from heavens. Okay, so mazal tov is that if something good happens to you, so then I'm telling you that this is a good leaking down from heaven. The bounty, the shefa, the blessing, the goodness is just leaking down, and it should continue. That I'm commenting, I'm commending, I'm commemorating all of the good flow that's coming down, and by commending it, I'm making it stronger. Yes, that's why we say Mazel Tov. That's why we say Mazel Tov when good things happen, that we're noticing that there's a good flow. There's a good flow from above. Okay? So Gedi is Mazal, that's a hint to Mazal, and Mazal is a flow from above. So this Gedi is a hint to when Hashem is inspiring us. When it's not up to us. When Hashem is just, when we have this natural intuition that I want to be closer to Hashem. So that's what it means. That's what it means, Gedi. And as opposed to sheep, so sheep, the Aramaic word for sheep is imra. Imra. So what does he say what is the reference of imra? Imra is a hint to amira, speech. Speech is us. Speech is what we do, right? In Kabbalah, so malchut is peh. Right? It says in Pesach Liel, that in the Hakdama to the Zohar, that malchus peh, that tefillah is called malchus. Why? Because that Hashem talks a lot. Hashem is telling us Torah, but Hashem says, but what do you have to say? What do you have to say? The malchut is when the recipient, when he's present as well. I'm no longer just passive, that I want to be present as well. That's malchus peh. Okay, so that's why tefillah is malchus. That's why tefillah is malchus. So imra is that the amira is that I want to say something too. That like Hashem, I love to hear you talk, but I know that you also want to hear me talk.
But how does it relate to B2? How does it play together with B2?
It's the opposite.
I think we always heard that the ideal state is to be B2, right? To be transcendent.
So it's a good thing that we have this summary class. It's not we sometimes talk about B2, and we sometimes talk about that you have to be very present, and that's precisely what this class is all about. That how do you balance between the two? Sometimes I want to be a B2, but what do we do? What do we do in tefillah? Do you know with we do an act, which is an act of bitul.
Bowing.
Also, but I was thinking of something else in Shema. We cover our eyes. Okay, when we're covering our eyes, we're escaping the physical world. When we're covering our eyes, we're saying that I want to transcend everything here. I want to that I don't see anything. There is no world. Okay, and that's bitul. Okay, that's Hashem Echad. Okay, so for a couple of seconds a day, in the morning and in the evening, for a couple of seconds we close our eyes and we're at bitul. But the rest of the day, 23 hours and 50 minutes. If you have a very long Shema, it's 5 minutes each. So then for 23 hours and 50 minutes, we're not in bitul. Okay, and so that's what the king and the queen, what they were arguing about was what's actually better. Is it better when our inspiration is coming from above, the Gedi, or is it better when our inspiration is coming down from below, the Imra? And so the Kohen Gadol he said, well, if Hashem liked Gedi, then he should put the goat for the carbon tamid. Meaning that from the fact that the carbon tamid is from the Imra, it's from a sheep, that tells us that really the essence is what's coming from us. The essence is what's coming from us.
When it's coming from us, doesn't it?
I
mean, isn't there a way to understand bitul as to be transcendent to the will of Hashem, which means to be a conduit for the will of Hashem? So,
and what was Marsha?
That something is coming from me, but it's really coming from a deeper place within me. So I'm just manifesting the will of Hashem. So I'm active, but in the same.
You're right. Hashem is everything. You're right. Hashem is everything, but it's
right?
it's the opposite. When I'm not saying what does Hashem want, when I'm saying what do I think, that's Imra. That's the Hashem has said enough already. Now I want to hear what I have to say. That's Imra. That's Moshe Rabbeinu is that he said Shalosh Dvarim Midato. He said thing. Hashem said, I want you to come on the third day, and he came on the fourth day. Okay, and Hashem said, here, give the Jewish people the tablets, and he broke the tablets. That's you're right. Everything is from Hashem, but in a conscious level, he was doing what I think. Okay, and that's Imra. So the Yisachar, this Yisachar guy, Yisachar Kohen Gadol, so he was saying that Imra is the essence, the Ikar Avodah, the Ikar Kiddush Hashem, the Ikar way of bringing Hashem's glory into the world is really not through bittul. That the majority of the time, the focus needs to be on our personal understanding of how I can go. And it's such an important thing. To people to think that Judaism is about that Hashem is going to carry me. Hashem is going to show me the way. I'm just so inspired. I'm in a trance. I'm feeling the vibes and that's not what life is all about. Those moments are sweet, and we should treasure them when we get them. But that can't be the basis of your Judaism. Someone once came to the Stipler, to Rabbi Yaakov Kamievsky, Zechron Livracha, and he said, Rebbe, I don't enjoy learning. I'm not in the mood to learn. What should I do? He thought that he would tell him, I think you need a break. I think you should go on a vacation to Hawaii for a week, and maybe after that you'll like learning. He said to him, he said, I'll tell you something. If I would have only learned when I'm in the mood to learn, I would be the biggest ignoramus in Bnei Brak. I would have remained nothing. The only reason why I'm anything is because I never asked myself, am I in the mood to learn right now? I asked myself, then what am I supposed to be doing right now? Something that I heard many times from a Rebbe of mine, Tzimar Zolberg, that he always says that Like it doesn't matter that if there's a matzav, if there's no matzav, if there's a good environment, if there's not good environment, if I have cheshek, if no cheshek, if I'm in the mood, if I have koyach, if I don't have koyach, if I have energy, if I don't have koyach, if I have peace of mind, if I don't have peace of mind, I'm doing what I need to do. It doesn't whether there's a good environment, whether I'm in the mood, whether I have peace of mind, whether I have strength, that it doesn't matter. I do what I need to do. Like whether or not I get the vibes. So that's the present from Hashem. That doesn't decide. That doesn't dictate to me whether or not I'm going to do something. Okay, because it's coming from me. It's coming from me. Okay, so this is what the whole essence of the Meraglim is. This is what the Meraglim is. The Hashem is saying that I agree, Moshe, that you're doing your things midaita. You're doing things because you think it's the right thing to do. You're not waiting for me to inspire you. You're not waiting for me to carry you. So that this whole parsha of Meraglim is in your honor. It's l'datcha. All right, that's the first idea. That's the first idea in the parsha of Meraglim. Now, he has a very interesting insight. I'll take a little bit more. Thank you. That it says that he mentioned this in the first piece. It says, "V'yishlach otam Moshe al pi Hashem." Thank you. Al pi Hashem. So that he sent these spies al pi Hashem based on the voice of Hashem. So he said, what do you mean the voice of Hashem? What do you mean the mouth of Hashem? So this is an idea we spoke about this briefly in a class about Sivan, about Gemini, Ta'omim. So we brought from the Zohar that what's the twins? What's the Gemini of Sivan? Torah shebechtav, the Torah shebal peh. Okay, the written Torah and the oral Torah. So the Berditchever writes that Moshe represents the written Torah, and the Yeshua represents the oral Torah. Okay, so what does that mean? So it says that the Chazal have a statement. Chazal have a metaphor. It says Pnei Moshe k'pnei Chama. The face of Moshe was like the face of the sun. Pnei Yeshua, the face of Yeshua, was like the face of the moon. So he says that the relationship between Torah shebechtav and Torah shebal peh is the relationship between the sun and the moon. The sun is very, very powerful. Okay, but because it's so powerful, it's the source, so you can't stare at it. It's gonna blind you. Okay, so Torah shebeksav is the source, the chachma, the wisdom from its place. That's Torah shebeksav. Like we spoke about this last week. That, like, for example, it says things in the Torah shebeksav that aren't actually factually true. Like, for example, it says an eye for an eye. It says that if you knock out somebody's eye, so then you get your eye knocked out, and that's not what you're supposed to do, right? So the Vilna Gaon asks, why does it say something which is not true? So he says because there's a certain reality, and like in the source of reality, it's not relevant to our lives, but in a certain sense, you really deserve to lose your eye, and there's this objective truth, objective in the sense that it's not realistic, but it is out there, that you really deserve to lose your eye, right? Just it's not practical. It's not if we're going to make a world based on justice. If we're going to make a world based on just like what needs to be, then it's going to destroy the world. It's going to be destructive. So that's why you need a Torah shebal peh. Torah shebal peh is very aware of what needs to be done down here. So that's Torah shebal peh. That's the moon. The moon is the reflective light. The moon is that how can I receive the light? How can I accept the light? How can I take the light, make it something palatable, make it something pleasant, make it something which I can enjoy? Okay, so that's Torah shebal peh. Torah shebal peh is I take these ideas, take these objective ideas which are really made for angels. They're really Torah shebeksav reality. So then, like, we can't really. It's not sustainable. We can't live on the level of Torah shebeksav. So Torah shebal peh is about making it realistic. So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, he was actually in a different world. He was really he was really in this elevated sense of reality that he was like out there. He was like, I'll say that he was half God and half human. It was he was out there, right? So he was really connected to the Dor Midbar. He was really connected to this being in this reality of bittul, the being in this reality of not being so with it. And Yeshua, he was the general. He was the one which was helping us to conquer the land of Israel, to make us inherit the land of Israel. And he was making life real. Okay, so Yeshua, he represents Torah Sheba'al Peh, because in Torah Sheba'al Peh, so the difference between Torah Sheba'al and Torah Sheba'al Peh is the Moshe Rabbeinu. He was the Rebbe of Torah Sheba'al. He was the Rebbe of just bittul. He was the Rebbe of just that it's not about me. Don't ask me what I think. I don't think. That Hashem says jump, I say how high. Okay? And that's Moshe Rabbeinu. That Yeshua says, oh, Hashem said jump. Maybe he meant like the jump soft drink. I'll get for the entire Jewish people. I'm going to buy them 5,000 bottles of jump orange juice. And that was like that Yeshua was translating the Torah in a way that's going to be just pleasant, in a way that's going to be. That's what Torah Sheba'al Peh is all about. That's what Torah Sheba'al Peh is about. That's what the Kippur Sha'aretz is all about. And that's what it says. Ve'ishlach otam Moshe al pi Hashem, that when Moshe sent the spies, was al pi Hashem, was with the mouth of Hashem, because sending the spies was about Kippur Sha'aretz, was about how we're going to conquer the land, and conquering the land is bringing down the essence of Torah Sheba'al Peh. That's why it needs to be al pi Hashem, according to the mouth of Hashem, because when it comes to the mouth of Hashem, when it comes to Torah Sheba'al Peh, that's why in Torah Sheba'al Peh, so everybody is disagreeing. This guy says it's mutter, and this guy says it's usher, and this guy says it's obligated, and this guy says not obligated, because in Torah Sheba'al Peh, so the truth actually depends on the intuition of the Chacham. Okay, the Torah Sheba'al Peh is that I once heard that the Talmid Chacham, the sage, so he is the scroll. He is the Torah scroll of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. And that's why we need to respect Talmid Chachamim. That's why we need to give honor to Talmid Chachamim, because their existence, their bodies, are the scroll of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. The Torah Sheba'al Peh is existing within the bodies of the Torah sage. Because the Torah sage is so devoted to understanding Hashem's wisdom, so what he thinks is Torah. Okay, and that's what Hashem is celebrating. The fact that I want there to be the Talmid Chachamim in the world. I want there to be down here in this world, that people that are going to, with their Torah understanding, with their intuition which was very polished and was very, very conditioned to understand what Hashem really wants, but yet very tuned in to the needs of the moment. So that's Torah Sheba'al Peh. That's why we have contradictions in Torah Sheba'al Peh. That's why we have Torah Sheba'al Peh is full of machloket. It's full of disagreements, and that's only Torah Sheba'al Peh. Torah Sheba'al it's very black and white. It's very there's no two ways. There's one in the entire Chumash. There's only one discrepancy if it's with a hey with an aleph, and then there's no discrepancies in Torah Sheba'al. In Torah Sheba'al Peh, there's thousands and thousands of discrepancies, because Torah Sheba'al is a reference to the source of wisdom, and Torah Sheba'al Peh is the wisdom as it plays out down in this world. So this is what Eretz Yisrael is all about. This is what Eretz Yisrael is about, and this is something that we were speaking about yesterday at Sudash Lashit. That this is really what they were asking for. That this is what the Ishbitzer writes when they were asking for meat. Snulanu basar. So Ishbitzer says, like, well, you think that they were complaining to Moshe Rabbeinu that we want meat? That what they were really asking for is that it says in the pasuk in Yechezkel, "V'hasirutu lachem, lev ha'even and atati lachem lev basar." I'm going to take away your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. Okay, what's it mean? I'm going to give you a heart of flesh. They wanted heart of flesh is having a sensitivity, having a feeling, not being hard, not being stuck a stone is luchot. That luchot is Torah Shebeksav is stone. Torah Shebeksav doesn't move, but we said I want to be present. I want to be feeling. I want to be able to really be in tune with what I need to be doing this moment, and for that I need a heart of flesh. I need a heart of flesh to be able to get that. And Hashem was telling them that no, you're not ready yet. That's going to be when we got to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, you're going to have a heart of flesh. Right now, look, I'll show you what's going to happen. You're going to die, and that's what happened. They got all this basar, and that's how we understand Kivot Ta'ava. That it wasn't that it was just that they weren't yet ready for a heart of flesh. But Eretz Yisrael is the place that Hashem wants us to have a heart of flesh, and this is the place where we're being very, very attuned to what Hashem wants from me this very moment. And this is what we were talking about earlier, about that constantly you need to constantly be aware of like what Hashem wants me for right now. And sometimes if you're going to be very traditional and do what we've always been doing, then you're actually changing the tradition, because Eretz Yisrael is every moment is different. And you have to be very, very aware, be very, very tuned in to what does Hashem want from me this very moment, even if it was yesterday was something else and tomorrow it's something else. But that's what Eretz Yisrael is, and that's what having a heart of flesh is. And this is the beauty of Torah She'Ba'al Peh. This is why Eretz Yisrael is the place that Torah She'Ba'al Peh is flourishing, and the Midbar, that's the place where Torah Shebeksav came down. So I bless us all that we should really be able to tune in to our Torah She'Ba'al Peh, to tune into the fact that Hashem wants us to take a part in this discussion, to the fact that Hashem wants us to hear what we have to say. There's Malchus Peh, to be able to be connected to our personal Torah She'Ba'al Peh. And this is really what Sefer Bamidbar is all about. This is really the Imra Adif, this is the beauty of the sheep. And through our personal intuition, our personal chidushim, our personal novelties. So this is really the beauty. This is the beauty of Galut. This is the beauty of Hashem stepping back. Is that when Hashem is in our face, so then it's beautiful, but there's no room for us. So Hashem steps back in order that He should be able to hear what we have to say. So that Hashem, once we get the hint and we start saying our stuff, then that will be the Malchus Peh that Hashem is waiting for, and then Hashem will say, "Okay, you got it. Now you get the essence of Eretz Yisrael. Now I can come down. And now we can bring Mashiach."